Oh, let me change the episode number. This is episode 6 of the Pod of Ages.
CS.
This is your host, Doomfunk, and his boy, Paradox Pope, the premier armchair analyst for League of Legends. We're going to be talking about the World Finals, T1's 3-0 stomp of Weibo Gaming.
Destruction. Obliterating. Devastating. Not even close, son.
Not even close. The Shy left his hands in Busan, and Xiaohu did finally find his hands.
Xiaohu played fine.
Xiaohu played fine. But that top gap was...
There's not much that can be done when your top laner goes almost 1 in 20 in 3 games.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But first, there is some LCS news for those of you who are fans of the North American pro scene. There will only be 8 teams going into the 2024 season 14.
We are losing 3 G's and an E here.
Yep. Golden Guardians is owned by Golden State Warriors, the basketball team, and they have decided that Golden Guardians is no longer worth the investment and is pulling them out of the LCS, while as EG, I believe that was a decision on Riot's side, since Golden Guardians was pulling out and them not having enough time to slot in another new team. Just keep the league at an even number and get rid of EG because of all of the drama surrounding that org, from Dota all the way to League of Legends.
Yeah, it's a shame that EG looked so promising as far as the organizational side. You know, when they first entered the LCS, they had a pretty cool lineup, you know, and then obviously the year after, winning a championship with effectively the 2 biggest prospects for North American talent, literally almost like hospitalizing one through poor treatments mentally. And then, the other one just had to roll out a year with an org that nobody liked. Roster disintegrated around him. And it's a real shame. I hope Danny does return to the league, but it really does not seem like it's a probability. It would be so cool if it did, but I think we'd hear probably more whispers of it by now if it were happening. Maybe 2025, but
yeah, I think Danny's mental is completely booned. I don't see him returning to an org because pro play isn't going to be easy no matter what organization you're on. At that level, it's going to be hard work, and with his mental state, obviously not being catered to enough by EG and also being pushed badly by EG, I just don't think he has what's the word I'm looking for?
I just don't think he cares.
Tolerance.
Yeah, there's no reason to come back.
To play even on a team that had the structure to keep him in a good mind state. I think he's just booned out, and I'm just saying, even if he wanted to come back, I don't think they're an org would be able to cater to him enough after what happened with EG, because with EG he's going to need very special treatment.
I mean, to a degree, I know burnout was an element of his issue, and if honestly they had just taken a little break after MSI, maybe a lot of the mental aspect could have been mitigated and managed better. I just think, it's hard to say. There was a lot of, apparently all of his team also didn't want to play with him because the mental aspect was real. And I don't know if he wants to come, I just don't know what he would want to come back for. He had a championship. He showed that he could have been like, the next double lift almost. That was possible with trajectory, right? So, if he grew just a little bit more, there's no reason not to believe that he would have been an ace talent. So, like, he doesn't have anything left to prove. The entire community loves him. If he doesn't really care about the money and the showmanship of being a pro, which I can understand, the visibility is not something that a lot of people actually want to deal with. If they had to deal with it, they don't understand.
Yeah, and that comes hand in hand with the pro play. So, like, if you don't want or can't handle like that level of one where there's going to be burnout, if your team is doing a good run, you're gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, we definitely said this, I think, once before on a different podcast where we said, like, there's no healthy form of competition. If you are a competitor, you can do this because it's hard. But if you're not really a competitor, you're either going to be lazy or it's just going to be like too much, every single day to deal with. It's not if you don't want it, then there's no reason to do it,
Yeah, and fuck, there. I feel like there's plenty of players that don't actually want it. They just were right place, right time, good agent.
Yep, and had good friends or whatever. Especially in NA, I think the scene is just a cool kids club. I honestly think the Danny situation is a great example of how that is like was the thing that proved it to me, because when the Danny story was breaking, Richard Lewis was one of the main people actually spearheading this information coming out and doing the journalist work. And the entire NA League community would not retweet anything Richard posted because he's Richard Lewis and everyone hates Richard Lewis. And instead, they just kept retweeting this random Dignitas interns collection of the information, which was full of hearsay and inaccuracies. But that was the tweet that got posted over and over and over again, whereas Richard Lewis's articles never got retweeted by anyone in the community. And I was just watching that happen.
For those
like, wow, you guys are so fucked.
New to the in-depth of the pro scene and here in NA, or people like me who have only just watched and are just now taking a deep interest in the inner workings. Who is Richard Lewis and why do people hate him?
So Richard Lewis is a esports journalist. He is one of like the oldest names in the field. He has won esports journalist of the year. I want to say more than once, but I could be wrong on that. He has at least won it once. And he is effectively like the old guard. He's a good friend of Thorin, which is another very controversial figure in the esports scene. He originally coming from Quake and Counter-Strike. But these dudes are, they're crass in a way. And it comes with the fact that they're
very little filter.
Older. Yeah, they're a little older. And I think if anyone who understands, if you guys got friends people who are like near their 40s, you understand that like people kind of have different dispositions. They don't care about being polite if they're calling you out. But these are the dudes that would call people out in the scene for their bad behavior. Richard Lewis especially, he is the guy who would break stories like, hey, Nicole LaPointe Jameson, who everyone right now loves, is actually a bad person. And that he would be the person saying that. But like whenever you go against popular opinion, I think with these communities that are younger especially, it just doesn't go well. And for that reason, these guys have been vilified. Richard Lewis is like shadow banned on the league subreddit, so you can't even say his name without the post being removed, because he's gotten into it with Reddit mods because he doesn't care about their opinions about people want to be megalomaniacs. And these are the people who are just have no problems fighting publicly with people who are beloved if they feel like they're wrong. These are the guys that initially called like Reginald for TSM out when everyone thought TSM was the stuff. But these are the guys like Monty, that would just call out the figureheads for bad behavior. But when everything is working nicely, no one sees the bad behavior. They don't really pay attention to it. But it's not like
teams winning, swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm. We all know Reginald, piece of shit, like an asshole. We all know that. We all know that Tryndamere from Riot is a shitbag. Like these are things that we know now because of the information that's available 10 years later. But in the moment of, these are the guys that got the negative reputation for calling it out then, you know? And Richard Lewis would not back down, especially on Twitter and stuff, and would get into big arguments and call people shitheads, all of it because, he has his information. If he knows it, he knows it. So,
And if
in
you
my
guys
mind,
watching Love Hot Takes, please follow Thorin and Richard Lewis on Twitter. Especially
It's
Thorin
definitely
on Twitter because it's typed out. If you watch any of Thorin's podcast, I love a lot of his takes. I disagree with him sometimes, which is fucking healthy. But god damn, when he goes on a rant, he is a thick fucking accent. And I fucking love Thorin. If you watch this, I love you. I can't understand a word you're fucking saying sometimes when you get really amped up. When your skin starts glowing red and you're really going at it, I hear syllables.
I mean, these are the dudes that I imagine a lot of the younger people in the community would say, like, old man yells at cloud. Like, these are the dudes they would attribute that meme to.
Yeah.
But if you want people who are, one, very rarely wrong, like as far as the claims they make and the things they come out and say, and the people who are like, who stand on their actual morals, those are the guys.
Yeah, I definitely know that anything Thorin won't make a claim unless he has vetted the shit out of it. Because he'll be a very ominous thing. He's like, there's something going on involving some specific things, and then a week later, after he gets more information, he drops the bomb, and then a month later, everyone's talking about it.
These are also the guys that have been very critical of esports becoming washed with Saudi money and not wanting to be affiliated with organizations that take money from Saudi Arabia because they stand for their beliefs. And I think that is another thing that is very, like, people love to say how good of a people they are and how they stand by all this shit, but like we can look at the LCS and how it's gone over the past few years, and no one stands by their ethics. And you can see the people who are on the outside because they do. And if you just pay attention to the discourse and how people talk about these things, it is very obvious. I'm not going to sit there and say that Thorin and Richard Lewis are like good, nice men who are really polite all the time and everyone would love them. Like, that's not who they are. But if you want people who are real, who believe in what they believe in and tell you what they believe in and have no disparity between that, like, those are dudes to be respected. You got to respect, real, recognize real, right?
Real recognize
that
real.
Is what it is. That is what it is. And like, I'm sure in a real world sense, Thorin and Richard would probably talk shit at me if they met me, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, who am I at the end of the day? I'm just some fucking random. Like, I don't think I deserve, more credence than that as a random, until I am a part of the scene. Like, I don't like any piece of a community until you're one of those big names. You are random.
Yeah.
And,
it doesn't matter how like your rank in League of Legends doesn't matter. Your followers on Twitter doesn't matter. It's who follows you.
Yep. And at the end of the day,
like, subscribe, follow us on socials. We're really trying to grow this podcast. As you can see, we've been more consistent in this than we have in past seasons so far. And speaking of consistency,
sorry, that was a pretty long tangent, but yeah,
no, that was good. That was good. I was actually about to throw us into. I was actually about to throw us in the finals, but I do want to talk about some roster changes. So speaking of EG and their org problems, JoJo is now going to be the mid laner of Cloud9. And what are the other with Blabber, of course, and Berserker? They were able to hold on to Berserker.
And then they picked up Vulcan to replace.
That's right, Vulcan, and still Fudge top.
Correct.
I love Fudge. I think that roster will be really good if they can, because I think Fudge is a pretty decent weak side top laner. He plays a lot of carries. He's very Whippo-y.
Yeah, I mean, I would say he is. We have Whippo at home for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's not an insult.
We got OTE Whippo.
Yeah, C9 is definitely
But
continuing.
he's wider in person.
No, he's lost weight. Sponge has lost a lot of weight. He's had a good
He's still
journey
a
on that.
gigantic person.
Oh, he's huge. Yeah, he's like 6'3" or 6'4" or something. He's a big man. I think C9 is continuing their recipe for domestic success. You know, they have their systems, meme in place, and I do believe that this team looks good. You know, for the sake of LCS, this is going to be a good team. Whether they can come together and obtain anything that's going to be worthy of international play, we'll find out. You know, next year when we see the level of the LCS in general. But you know, this is definitely probably a 1-2 for spring and summer of LCS, unless something crazy happens. But I doubt it. Like I just think this is going to be a winning roster. Like Blabber Jojo is going to be so much fun to watch.
With Vulcan Berserker.
Yeah, like I like all that.
I like all of it.
Like if you put Impact top, that would be the best NA team possible. But we don't need it.
Just made my nipples hard.
Yeah, no, that would be a crazy team.
Speaking of Impact, back on Team Liquid.
Yep.
He's back home. Which
LCKS 2.0.
Yep. So speaking of speculation, I don't believe that the LCS is going to get a 4th seed even for play-ins this year. Having only 8 teams.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they don't really deserve it anymore. No. Like we don't
even deserve a 3rd seed, to be perfectly honest.
There you go. You're correct. Here's what they need to do. Else for Worlds next year, let's just cut LCK or LCS and LEC 3rd seeds. I think we can all agree they were completely worthless at the tournament. I don't care if you're a European fan. Mad still sucks internationally. Surprise! You know, I don't think anyone had hope for BDS, and like no insult, but that's fair. Obviously, Liquid was complete shit too. Probably the worst team at the tournament. I got no problem saying these things. So let's just.
I mean, they got knocked out by GAM. So.
Yep. Let's remove the 3rd seeds, and instead the 3rd seeds can play into the play-ins like 4th seeds do now, and just go ahead and bring me LPL and LCK 5th seeds, or bring me more Vietnam, just because I think that roster is good, or that region is big enough to give attention to.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to World in London next year. I am already going on a trip in April, though, so I will be using up all of my work vacation time and money to do that trip. I wish they would have announced Worlds a bit sooner, because I would have talked all my friends out of going on a cruise and been like, because my girlfriend and I went to London last year. We love it. Would have been really nice to go to London again and go for World Finals. That would have been
that'd been cool.
Would have been pretty fucking awesome. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of this.
Mm-hmm. Get on to the World's Finals.
Get on to the World's Finals. Faker, the unkillable Demon King. He died a few times, but not enough to lose a game.
Nope.
Owner and Zeus ran the series. They were the directors on the film set that was the destruction of Weibo.
Let's not forget one more very important piece of that. The Shy
never showed up.
Dude, well, he did more than not show up.
He was the last and final double agent for Korea. Hail Hydra.
Hail Hydra.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets an LCK team next year.
Well, we already talked about Kanavi apparently getting tryouts at Gen G like day after their elimination. So I'm really happy for the sake of the storylines of Faker's career that T1 got their 4th championship. I know, like I said earlier, I wish they won last year instead of this year, just because last year I'm still so upset DRX won. That was such a bad team. And I know the Def storyline is super cool and all, but I don't care. I want good teams, and I like the legacy of the entire situation. I know that like we've had the conversation between like how a team looks throughout a year versus how they are on the day. And I agree with you for the sake of like who's going to win that match. But if we were going to talk about who is the better team, obviously I'm going to take the entire year into account, not just like one day. So like when a team as bad as DRX wins, feels real bad. T1 was not a bad team. T1 was a great
No, I
team.
remember last year they weren't they almost undefeated in the spring split?
This year they were undefeated in spring.
I mean, even last year. Because I remember last year we were like, oh, okay, T1's going to run the Golden Road. They look insane this year. They have the best macro of any team out of all the
problem is they never won anything.
Yeah.
You know, that was the issue. They lost so many finals, and they had moments where individual players would like have crazy weaknesses. Like Owner used to look pretty bad at times. Zeus had bad games. Zeus was like the worst at choking in finals as far as form changing. But obviously, none of that was true this year. My only real lament is T1 only got challenged in one series in the entire tournament. Like,
yeah, they only lost one game in the entire elimination stage.
On the elimination stage, yes.
Yeah, but in the entire elimination stage, they only lost one game.
Yeah, but like ultimately, if we look at T1 through the entire event, they almost lost to Team Liquid, who was the worst team in Swiss. They almost lost to them. And then they get shit stomped by Gen G. And then they play against BLG, 2-0 them. Asterix. Game 1 was completely flipped at 2 minutes. And game 2, they got to play out and win, and was a game. So Asterix on the first win, because it was unwinnable after 3 minutes, right? And then LNG completely shits the bed. Like, they don't get beat because T1 is better. Tarzan and Scout run the entire game down. Series down. Yes, T1 has some awesome draft adaptations and cool stuff to neutralize the bot lane, and that is very effective. But that series is lost by LNG more than T1 wins it. And I think that statement is pretty true in Weibo's series as well, because the Shy went literally 1-16. Like, holy crap, is that bad? But if anyone watched the LPL this year, that's exactly typical of the Shy. He plays good for one series, and then they lose to anyone's legend because he runs it down. And it's just like, I'm really happy Faker won, but I really wish they played against more than one team. Because JDG was the only team that at least showed up on a level that it played at. And even they had mistakes and some errors that are a little bit less than character, but like, we won't go to that. That was at least a good series. That was a fight. There were 3 unforced errors that were pretty egregious and very devastating, but not so big as LNG and Weibo to compare to me. Like, the Weibo series with T1 in freaking game 2, when the Shy has that sweet 2v1 play when they're trying to dive him top, and then just runs it down into Gwen.
Just ease forward instead of saving the E for the outplay.
Like, he's literally down. He's dead to 1 Q. It's not like a cool combo that where, like, Zeus is like auto Q, cancel auto again, and that kills you. No, he E forward, and he's like, dude, W, Q, you're dead. What was that? Like, and then he just gets dived 3-man bot. It's just like, dude, is this really how this series is going to go? We were watching the games, and game 3 draft happens. We're both fucking basically puking in our lap. It's so bad.
Yeah, the first time Bard for Crisp, where he definitely fucked up a couple ultimates.
He plays well for 10 minutes and then
had some good other plays, but every time he had to press R and Bard, it was to his team's detriment. They finally give Weiwei a carry jungler, and then the top side just falls. Like, the Shy can't do anything. He is having horrible TPs. He's using his Cannon ult to clear waves when there's about to be a team fight in 30 seconds.
The first time he did that, when he just hit 6, was fine, because he did at least have the cooldown back for a Herald fight. So, like, that part, like, that's all right. Like, that is not what I would flame the Shy for, and there's a lot to flame the Shy for on the series.
I would say that TP he did into the into the mid brush, and then just sat there. He TPs on the into the enemy, behind the enemy team when they're chasing his team, instead of TPing into the brush. I think that was because that ward was put late. I think he channeled the TP and then the ward went down. I'd have to rewatch.
Yeah, I don't still know.
I will be
don't know.
doing on stream, and then it will be uploaded to YouTube. T1's Run of Worlds breakdown of drafts and highlights from the games, just to show the evolution of their, generally just like their cohesiveness throughout Worlds. Just grew and grew and grew. Well, they changed the meta, but then look at the World's Finals.
Well, yeah, but like, look at, I think the Gen G game is going to be the most interesting game for you to review, because it's the game they lost, and it's also right before they started winning. And like, obviously, in the sense of like, that was before they like hit the switch, because I want to say it was by the BLG series, the T1's like, all right, this is how we're playing the game. This is our approach. So I'd love to see how, once you actually go and we actually look at it, you can talk about it, what information from that games especially, made things different.
Yeah, and I think Weibo gameplay aside, I think that their drafts were complete dog shit. All 3 games.
Game 1 wasn't bad. I understand the thought around Game 1. I did not like the adaptation in Game 2 at all. I think they took all of the wrong information from that game.
I think the Senna Kench wasn't bad.
I think all of it's pretty cool.
But I think that
first pick the Maokai, like, it makes sense.
Like the Ash Varus was banned. I think that the Lee Sin was a great adaptation by T1, considering Owner has like an 80% win rate on Lee Sin in his career.
Well, you're just you do what you press the Maokai's weakness, just take the fight to him and skirmish him.
Yeah.
They had the lane priority.
Which once they picked the Ahri, I think a quicker scaling ADC on Senna. Also, Light obviously does not play Senna because he was not getting enough souls.
So few players understand how to do this well. I feel like they just are always sitting at Umbral Glaive and a freaking serrated Dirk at 20 minutes, and it's just like, all right, man, good luck. You've got a cheap lethality item and a Dirk on top, and the other AD has 2 items, so have fun. They just don't get it.
I really think that them picking their entire top side in phase 1 though was pretty bad.
I think I would have liked to see the Aatrox pick, the top lane pick, come on the second rotation and then grab an ADC before second phase bans. I understand if you want to do the Maokai Jace 1-2, or not literally, obviously the blue side, but like in that sense for your comp, you want that to be the center. You're already banning out a lot of the mid pool, and you're going to pick the Jace.
Pick a support that can go into Uckless or Renata. Grab the Ashe.
I think if they pick Varus here, honestly, and then let the bans happen, I don't know if T1 bans TK if the Varus is showing right there. Maybe they would, but I don't think so. The Ashe ban definitely comes through. But then who knows? They probably ban a top laner second, honestly, if the Shy is not showing yet. And then you're gonna have the Ahri come in. Cool, that doesn't matter. But actually, might not pick the Yone.
Oh.
They'd probably pick the Aatrox and ban out.
But also, they probably would have saved Yone the pick for B5 like they did in the last 2 games, where they were giving Zeus counter pick, and I really think Weibo fucked up not going red side in game 3.
I agree with you there.
I think at that point, once you're realizing that like how much priority they're putting on the counter pick, like Aatrox instant slam Yone, and then game 2, once you see the Nocturne and they're saving the counter pick for R5, it's like you have to give the Shy counter pick.
Yeah,
Like,
but I think honestly,
get his confidence back. Get him back in this game somehow. Like mentally, be like, okay, Shy, we believe in you. You got this. Or throw him on something that doesn't require. I mean, they tried to with the Kennen.
By game 3, they really should have not had. He put him back on Ornn duty, or he's in int mode. Like they should have known that by now.
The Bard and the Kennen pick, I'm like,
let's go back to draft 1 for a second, just because. But yeah, I honestly think if they don't pick Aatrox on B3, T1 probably grabs Aatrox on R3, right? And then what are their bans going to be for the second rotation? Probably Ash Graves, maybe. And then what? There's not another
if they grab the Varus, Ash Graves is a good ban out. But then also, like, can the Shy play Yone? Can the Shy play Gwen?
He should be able to. He's the fucking Shy. But as we saw with the series, he can't play anything, so it doesn't matter. They should have just put on Yuumi. Like, dude, that was bad. And that's how I kind of felt. Like, you can tell a lot of people don't watch the LPL by how people are like, oh yeah, Weibo, like Weibo is going to do this. I'm like, the Shy just played a good series. That means he's not going to play another good one. I'm not going to say that out loud.
Carried them up until the finals.
Well, I mean, Weibo played against NRG. Weibo wasn't tested at all until semis. They didn't have to play They didn't play any Eastern teams before.
And they won all on blue side.
And that was the only games the Shy actually played great on, was for the BLG series, so he could beat Bin, because Bin is probably the other best top laner in the world. You know, I am still, like, I'm really upset that Weibo won the semis. BLG versus T1 would have at least been a more interesting finals, because BLG aren't a bunch of pussies. You know, they'll fight you to the end. They're not going to roll over and die. I can't believe that Xiao actually played this series well, just to have the entire game fall apart on him so fast in every single game.
Yeah.
Like, Weiwei did okay in some of the games. He had some pathing issues, I want to say, in game 1. But for the most part, like, Weiwei played pretty fine. Xiao, who I thought was playing good. I'm not going to blame Light for anything. He's the ADC, and he played game 3 really well. He was trying so hard. But Chris was so ass. Hard. The Shy was ass. The world champions were shit tier. And I just really wish that all of the Korean players didn't shit the bed against T1, minus JDG. Like, Kanavi kind of flipped 3, obviously, but Ruler played fine.
Dude, and also, like, the T1 mind games coming into this, where T1 is playing that double ADC bot meta, that double ranged bot meta. And I don't think but they just give over a Renata Glask twice. They ban Ashe instead of Renata Glask.
I think they should have first picked Renata in game 2.
Yeah. Especially with the Ashe ban, I think that would have been pretty good. Because Ashe is pretty good into Renata, so they banned themselves out in game 2.
And, like, honestly, no shit. Like, T1's going to take the Kalista to deny it, and then what are they going to pair with it? A Bard or a Caitlyn or something? You know, worst case scenario, they grab the Varus there as well, and you have to play against Kalista Varus, which would be kind of annoying. Was he banned? No, Varus was not banned first rotation, so. But, like, who really cares? You know?
Yeah, I feel like there was definitely... And the center support in game 2 with the Kalista?
It was okay.
I didn't like it.
I mean, honestly, I think game 2 was I don't like the Ahri pick in game 2, but I think game 2 had a lot of angles if the Shy didn't teleport bot after running it down on Gwen in order to give cash in to Draven. You know, that was kind of detrimental to the game, because the bot lane was smashing the Draven Renata in the lane. And then, because he was like down like 15 CS, he lost flash at level 1 or 2. It was they were getting bullied in the bot lane until the Shy teleported to die bot. Like, the Shy flipped game 2 so fast, man. Like, E forward, die to Gwen, and then go bot and ruin your bot's advantage. Like, that's like 8 minutes in or something, or less. It's just like, God, man, how can Weibo do anything? Like, how do you win a 5v5 if it's 6v4? Or 7v3.
And what do you think of the Wukong Jace ban in game 3?
Wukong Jace ban in game 3 on Weibo's side, I think that makes no sense to me at all. Those look like wasted bans.
Because
Honestly, like the Lee Sin was left open, so what? Who cares? And you're banning Jace from Zeus when Aatrox is up. Like that makes no sense to me at all. Like this,
like
I think everything was
isn't Kennen Jace kind of a decent, like, just not a bad matchup for either side?
sounds skill based to me, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I imagine. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned
Whereas
this should be
the
like,
Aatrox can just survive, and then
I think it's more about like just the tools that the champs have specifically, and like how you've seen the players play them. Like Zeus has been playing some great Aatrox this tournament, so why wouldn't you ban the Aatrox that has team fighting tools and stuff? And like you can give him a Jace. Who cares? They're gonna have a poke comp. Like
he's gonna be the
I
only
don't know.
poke in it.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it mattered. Like both of those, like the Wukong is a strong pick, but I don't know why you ban it there.
Like,
I think Weibo having the Azir ban when T1 is banning Nico Oriana all the time. I think I like these adaptations. I did like pushing Faker off of his comfort picks. Outside of the Akali game, I would say Faker was almost a non-factor. He didn't do anything special in his finals
he had some
outside of
good
the
Maokai ult in game 2, but that's what Silas does. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
I mean,
you got the angle on that.
when the Gwen is 1v2ing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and the Draven is strong at that point. Like he didn't have to do anything in game one, and honestly, in games 1 and 2, and honestly, I say game one, I would say Xiaohu was playing it better than him for the most part. He was outplaying him in the lane. His Xiaohu's movement in this series was super crisp, very nice, but it's just none of it mattered enough. He was still losing priority to the Ari in game one, which I know Jace takes a little bit of time to come up, but like that just seems a little weird. But I guess it's the wave clear. The Ari is way better wave clear.
Ari has a way better wave clear, and then the Jace
like,
starts to come online. So you do lose that mid prio for a little bit, but they had bot prio. They didn't do too much with it. They didn't have top prio because Gwen was immune, Zeus is immune.
And we see Owner break out the Nocturne instead of like Wei Wei and Xiaohu pulling out something like the Galio combo. Fun, but Galio, I don't know. I think the Ari is a false positive in this game. I'm not sure why Xiaohu picked it in game 2, especially with the Silas like up with the Maokai showing. It's just so many.
Like we were talking about in the game, unless Callista's there.
Imagine
for the pick, they don't have enough damage to kill almost anybody on the enemy team if they go for
Imagine Xiaohu taking Silas here on B3, because you're already looking at the Renata. So that's one ultimate you can steal, even if like the Draven ult doesn't mean anything. You're only looking at one champ. I think you could have denied the Silas instead of giving Faker the Silas when you're playing Maokai in game 2. Just to deny the tool and to take the Renata ultimate. And honestly, Renata ultimate into Draven sounds nice. Hits so hard. Like he just 2-taps the Renata for you. Just bop, bop, collected, That sounds good. I don't like there was game 1, I can understand the thought process. Don't really like the Senna because no one can play it. Everything else is more or less fine. Would have liked to see the Aatrox flex later for them to pick up the Varus and have a real ADC, but whatever. Games 2 and 3, it felt like Weibo's brains were just exploded. And honestly, having T1's ex-coach as your coach is clearly the ultimate double agent Hail Hydra. Here's your draft game 3. Kennen, Bel'Veth, Azir, Varus, and Bard. Go get them, boys!
See, I like the.
I've always loved you.
I like the Azir, Varus, Bel'Veth in that though. Especially the Bel'Veth response to the Lee Sin, because she can fight him early.
Kennen, oh my god, the Kennen Bard. Oh.
But the Kennen Bard, it's like, okay, so this requires precision by both members to Bard ult the enemy team, follow it up with a Kennen ult, and you win the team fight, and you get an Azir sweep in there, and Varus is free hitting the whole time, and Belveth resets 3 times. On paper, it makes sense, but the fact that it was crisp first time on Bard, which for the first 10 minutes of the game, he looked brilliant on until he hit level 6 and pressed R for the first time. And everybody who was watching that game, every co-streamer, every caster was like, why? Why?
Yeah,
one, why is Azir there? And 2, why did Bard just ult when Azir can just leave?
It's just, there's so many things by game 3 that I just wish we would have had more competition in this final. And ultimately,
the potential was there. Like I said on last week's episode, the potential was there if, like, I wasn't expecting the Shy to do the Shy things and not just fucking run it. I was like, if Xiaohu shows up, it's going to be a series. But the Shy didn't show up.
You know, maybe you'll see more of it like when you go and watch all of the games. Again, you'll get a better example of it. I just feel like T1 wasn't really pushed that hard. JDG did, and JDG had to be beaten, and T1 did have some clutch plays to make that happen. Game 3 or 4 rather was a little sad face with how Kanavi played some of the points. But like ultimately, Kanavi did play that series pretty well. He does a lot because Knight kind of didn't do much, I feel like, in that series, obviously. But I don't think that like Faker was the best mid laner in the world at this tournament. I think he had a few really good plays and otherwise was pretty mediocre.
Against JDG, he looked really good.
I mean, he had the Azir picks, but outside of like the game 3 moment, what did Faker do? Like, I feel like Zeus and Owner played incredible this tournament. I think Zeus and Owner look like the best players of their position in the world right now, for sure. I don't think Guma looks crazy. He had a great.
He did in game 4 against JDG.
The Varus play was good for sure, and like at least he did that against Ruler, so he gets to really put his foot down. Like, I didn't just do this to some chump, like I did it to the best. So like at least there's that. But like, I don't know, Carrier. I feel like the bot lane's strength this tournament was making every other team play their meta that they were bad at, that other teams are bad at. Like, you guys can't play engaged sports anymore for some reason. You're not even going to try because of Ashe. And it's like, really? I mean, the Tom Kench in game 1 looked fine of the Weibo series. It looked like JDG could have done that. Like, after I watched that game, I was like, they should have locked in Jinx Tom Kench in game 4. It would have been fine. Like, just let missing things instead of throw Ashe arrows.
How different would this tournament look if this was the winners finals? And then this pushed Weibo into a lower bracket.
The only question is how JDG at T1 rematch would look. Like, that is the only question. Unless BLG just
it's becoming more and more of a conversation. It's not just Thorn and Monty thrown out that we need a double elimination tournament. It's the only tournament all year long where these teams don't have double elimination.
And I think the conversation is always going to be is, what does Riot want their product to look like? Because at this point, these formatting things are more about the product. Like, they do want upsets. They like that happening. They do want NRG to somehow make it into quarterfinals because that's a story. But that doesn't happen. Once you add double elimination, these random, like, DRX does not win Worlds last year with double elimination.
Well, but also it gives it. I think it can add to a storyline if you get a team that is knocked out in the first round of the playoffs for Worlds and then makes a lower bracket run to finals and wins. It's like, oh my god, they came back. You will still get upsets in there.
Honestly, even if they did it for only semis forward, top 4 teams of the world only, double elimination. Like, even something as minimal as that would be significant because we do get BLG coming back there. We would have seen JDG for another run. And while people can, like, again, matters what Riot wants their product to look like, who knows if they want to see, LNG get fist fucked again. But honestly, seeing KT play more would have been cool, because
Seeing,
KT could have been in a better form than Weibo and LNG.
but if LNG was looking that bad and they played against NRG, then you and then you get, oh my god, NRG knocks out LNG.
Oh my god, that would be so funny. Pala Faker is greater than Scout because he's got Faker in his name, damn it, and Faker is Scout's father.
So like you still do get those storylines,
Faker is basically
and they get to sell more tickets because there will be more games. Whereas
they have more broadcasting costs too.
More broadcasting costs, but more tickets, more ad revenue. The more games you have on there, with these top 8 teams in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
I'm down for it.
Like, they were actually showing ads between games, which I don't think I've ever seen Riot do that.
No, not usually. Yeah, they always have their.
Which I'm like, I've been thinking for years. I'm like, why am I seeing just a timer that says 10 minutes? It goes to the analyst desk for 3 to 5 minutes. Then it just cuts to nothing for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. And then we either come right into draft or we get an analyst desk for another 2 minutes. And then we go into draft. And it's like, fill that time with fucking ad revenue. I think Riot's fucking up. I think they're starting to learn some things, but also at the same time, like, it's just a fucking mess. Like, you need to take examples from sports that have been around and have proved their longevity. Like, not like hockey.
No franchise though. That clearly doesn't work out too well.
But like, look at the NFL, like one of the most top 2 most successful like branded sports in the world, next to FIFA. It's like, it was like FIFA, NFL, and the NFL is only in the United States, but people all over the world watch the NFL.
It's just, I don't know. There's a certain level of politics and belief that must exist at Riot for some of these problems to be so pervasive. Like, they have to, obviously, for the sake of upsets and not having double elimination, I think they're hopefully starting to feel the gaps in their broadcasting days at this Worlds. Because, like, I don't know, I felt like waiting between weekends for the playoffs and stuff was starting to feel a little boring. And if you had double elimination, you would have 2 more days of broadcasting. We would have only like 2 or 3 days dead in the air. You could actually roll from game to game and have this feel like an event like other tournaments do. But if Riot wants to have their own tournament structure and they can have only their games or their tournament structures, okay, I guess, but you can't have MSI be double elimination, be this awesome
and then Worlds
format.
Not be.
And not, yeah. Swiss was a great success, I think. I liked how the Swiss bracket played out. I know we have some bad draws, but who cares? We'll get over the stupid stuff. Some people might complain that NRG made it, and that's a downside of Swiss. I'm like, no, this is what they want. This is the goal of this system, is to have some teams not get challenged enough and sneak into quarters so you can have different storylines. That's why there's no rank seeding at all. If they wanted this to be actually representative of the top 16 teams in the world, and for us to believe that conversation, because obviously none of us believe that even Team Liquid is the 16th best team in the world.
No.
It's just not true. So if they want it to reflect that, they need to do a bunch of things different with Swiss and seeding. But if they don't, which I don't think they do, because they've never cared about 3 through 4 or 3 and down as far as ranks. 1 and 2 are the only teams you kind of get an idea of in their tournaments, and 2 is even suspect. So
2 is definitely suspect this year, where Gen G went and got fucking placed 2nd seed going into the elimination stage, and then got utter shat upon by BLG, Or was it a competitive series? I actually can't remember.
No,
I remember
that was
it
a
was a
competitive
3-0.
series. No, it wasn't. It was 5-game.
Was it 5-game? No.
Pretty sure.
Let me
double check
myself.
actually. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure both. Yeah, no, the BLG Gen G series was a banger. I think the BLG Weibo series was interesting, but not like it had some fun games to watch, but it wasn't like a competitive banger. There were some blowouts in there. I think the KT JDG series was probably about as competitive as was less competitive actually than the Weibo series. Well, BLG played competitive series, basically what I'm getting at. I'm trying to remember who else played competitive series. I think the KT JDG series was at least fun to watch. I like obviously we have different opinions on how competitive it was. That's cool. I think the JDG T1 series was very competitive, a good series. But I don't think we had a lot of great series from playoffs. Like T1 LNG was awful. Weibo Energy, pretty boring, you know. And then the finals was terrible. So like Weibo played one good series against BLG this entire tournament. JDG at least played series that you could watch and have fun thinking about and talking about, you know. And then T1 had one challenge. It doesn't feel great, is all. Last year's bracket was actually crazy competitive and good to watch, which kind of makes it harder also for us to follow it, just because of all the things happening and the fact that, you know, somehow the sixth best team in Korea all year beat 1, 2, and 3. Actually, no, they didn't have to play Dom 1. I lie. They only had to beat 1 and 2. Somehow that happened. Scout ran it down on EDG, so what can you do about that?
So congrats to T1. Congrats to Zeus getting MVP. Definitely earned it. It was close between him and Owner, but
it was actually close by the votes.
I mean,
it should have been.
I test. It was close because honestly, Weiwei was playing a much better game than the Shy.
The only real conversation is who played worse, Crisp or the Shy. And honestly, I think the Shy still wins.
Oh, the Shy definitely wins that.
So, you know, I think Owner played a phenomenal tournament. He should really be talked about more. It's kind of sad that like all the conversations I'm hearing about T1 are about Faker. Like Zeus, I understand that one's not set. Cool. It's all about Faker and Carria, and I'm like, Carria did not look crazy at this event. Like, I know he was very impactful because of how he plays the game, and his meta was effectively put upon the game. Also, like, so clearly the importance of him, huge. But his gameplay was not like insane.
And the only narrative I'm hearing about Owner is that Owner was shit all year long, and then he's really good and really good all of a sudden, and it's like
they're not giving him enough credit.
No, they're not giving him enough credit. They're just talking about how shit he was all year, and then he won Worlds, and it's like the guy played his fucking ass off.
Yeah, I mean he looked like the single best jungler in the world at this event. That's what I said earlier. I only feel like Zeus and Owner proved they are the best in their positions this year, like at this event, as far as like the level they obtained. Everyone else, I think they were just along for the ride. They had moments of brilliance. You know, Ruler, the Guma outplay on Ruler and 369, the Faker scoop, beautiful. Like they had such huge plays.
Yeah, and that play in the bot river where Rel was started by Owner, like fake, like
that engage was crazy good.
The layering of it was that was one of the best one of the best team plays I think I've ever seen. Was just how well layered everything was, because as the Azir scoop is moving them, the Renata ult is hitting them.
Mm-hmm. But all of that comes off of Owner flashing a damn near point blank Ash arrow.
Yeah,
like, you know, he is in the pixel brush to the entrance of the dragon pit. That is where the Ash is standing. And he's like, I know it's coming. Flash W ultimate. I'm going to catch the Ash and the Talia in this, and we're going to erase. We're just going to immediately win this fight. because their front line is standing back there keeping Aatrox at bay for some reason. JDG split up weird in that fight, which is very unlike how they played a lot of this year. I wish JDG played a little bit cleaner, because we would have had a 5-game series 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly also think that if JDG just played a little bit cleaner, it probably would have been 3-1 JDG, because they wouldn't have lost game 3 and 4 without a few unforced errors.
You know, T1 definitely earned the championship. The game was theirs to win, the finals was theirs to win. It was Weibo had to show up and be a cohesive team, and 1.5 of their members just didn't show up.
Yeah, it was.
So
I mean,
that's unfortunate. The opening ceremony, the first 2 minutes of it, where they're in the street and the person keeps changing, and it was like that pre-recorded thing. I thought that was a bit weird, but everything after that was banging.
It was pretty good. The Worlds video next year is going to be insanely good. They're going to pull out all the stops because it's Faker, and they're going to make that video freaking awesome. It's going to be really racist, I bet. There's going to be a bunch of overtones about the Chinese getting beaten, you know? It's just going to be the faceless red, the yellow star, and then it's going to be Faker. He's like, fucking break his neck. Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous.
So a couple of things that were officially announced at the World Finals was the season 14 map changes, which are looking very interesting as far as that. Now that I'm gonna consider myself a jungler now. I don't think I can go back to ADC. I can probably play it, but it's just so boring compared to jungle.
Oh man, I hate the new jungle. I hate it so much.
I know. I think it's going to be very interesting because where people are like, it's going to be impossible to gank, like those spaces between the terrain right in front of the tower. Like, set up a freeze. Set up a fucking freeze. Set it up. We can break you can break freezes now. Instead of having to go behind the tower, you can actually go right in front of the tower. Mid lane's going to be harder to gank, of course. We got the new Voidlings, which are going to give a permanent pushing buff, which is going to be very interesting to balance. I think it's going to open up a lot of different ideas behind team compositions of how much into the early game you want to go to stack up those pushing buffs and really try to end the game quickly. Where like by second Rift Herald, you're pushing to end the game. The driving of the Rift Herald, turning it into basically a Scion ultimate, is very interesting. I'm not sure about that change.
So many of these changes are like so incredibly laning biased too. To follow these huge jungle nerfs with this, it's going to be awful, man. It's going to feel so bad. Mid lane is going to be so hard to gank with the brushes pushed as far back as they are. Like Rengar's
and how wide they wider.
Rengar is unplayable now. Like, he's a top laner now. I hope you guys like playing Rengar top, because that's the only place you can play this champion now.
They didn't say anything about alcove changes, so
it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be shit, man. And then you're gonna have to fight for these void grubs, and they despawn at 14 minutes. And if you're a jungler, that means that they will despawn when you're level 8.
Wait, so if they despawn at 14 minutes, that means there's only be one herald now.
Yes, there's only one herald that spawns at 14. So you only have one.
That's a direct nerf to Bel'Veth.
Yeah, and so you're gonna have to play for these freaking void grubs, which means you have to be strong at level 4. So we're gonna see these incredible early game priority junglers again. It's gonna be Xin Zhao meta, because he's like one of the strongest early game junglers. Because you're gonna have to be able to fight level 4 through 5, and you're going to be down 2 to 3 levels on these solo laners that you can't reach anymore, that have much easier ways to play against you. Like, this is going to feel terrible, dude. It's going to be awful. I'm just not going to play. Like, season 13 jungle is going to be.
All right, so
jungle is going to be shit. It's going to be bad.
Here's our
Rough.
duo up for solo queue. You play support, I'll play jungle.
Yeah,
And we just roam around the map and just make everything fucking happen.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm really interested
because the support item changes. So the support item changes are huge. Now there's only one support item, and you get gold from executing minions and from hitting champions. So roaming support is definitely going to be. It doesn't matter what item you pick. You're not locked into just poking, just executing anymore. You can roam up to mid lane, give them an execute, fucking. You can go for ganks and get gold out of it and then execute a couple minions. We'll see how the items actually work in practice.
They're just taking so much of the variance and like actual choice out of the game, and I just don't know why. Like support item, like we've already gone from like 4 of them to 2. Like we've done enough changes on that. We're going down to just 1 now. Like jungle item, at least we still have 3 choices. We'll see how long that persists at this point. I don't know. I don't like. And then the entire team getting red and blue buff, just like I just read that as people think it's a bad thing that the jungler gets anything, and solo
I don't get it.
Have to fight over this.
I don't get this.
Like the dongle getting the 1 extra buff, I think that was perfect. That was great.
That was a great change. Great change.
Yeah, that's huge. And that means that you could play and counter jungle the enemy, and then you would actually have a pretty good strength. You could have 4 or like 3 of these buffs active technically to their 0. Like that's cool. That's a good way to think about the game and approach the game and play the game. And now it's just like, oh, everyone gets it, whatever. Oh yeah, everyone.
I do like the scuttle crab becoming a scryer's bloom when it dies.
That to me sounds like it's better for snowballing again, because you.
They're doing anti-snowball changes, but then next season they're adding snowball mechanics. So
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking. It's going to be very interesting to see what strategies, like how much, like of
early river control is going to define the game, and scaling is going to be completely shut down. If you play champions that want 3 or 4 items, you better find a new main, because you're not going to get 3 or 4 items unless you're a good CSer, unless you're good at maintaining a great, absorbing gold, which is a high elo thing ultimately, right? We have to know, like, high skill cap is be able to absorb gold well,
and also roaming.
Yeah, well, that's how you maximize your gold intake, honestly, because when you are not losing gold, any gold in your lane, so that you can go elsewhere to gain gold and then come back and still receive all that.
But that also requires wave control. So like,
it's a lanes game now.
But they say they want the game to be more accessible, but they're making the game require, with every season, more and more team coordination.
And they're taking the actual skill expression out.
So if you want to try out Dota, I think you'd be a great mid laner, aka a 2. You are the mid game carry. You do a lot of roaming.
I just need to expand my champion pool and become a bit better at laning, and then just play whatever. Honestly, like I could play mid. It's just most of the champions I like to play don't generally go mid. I know it doesn't matter at the end of the day, but I do at least recognize some of the points of like a power spike.
Speaking of mid laners, the new mid laner was announced as well, and he has count them 10 spells. Someone actually just commented to a post of mine on Twitter saying, "How do you know? Sure, he has 9 abilities, but he can only use 3 at once, and none of the individual abilities look game breaking." It's like, no, he goes QQ or QW or QE or EW for his abilities. He doesn't just have 3. It's a combination of the buttons.
Yeah, but if you QQ, the Q spells go on cooldown. So you cannot QW, you cannot QE.
Okay, yeah. So it's
it's just you have more tools, same
You have a
cooldown
lot of tools. He has
Uh-huh.
he can fit anything the team needs at that time. Do you need to burst damage? Do you need CC? Do you need shielding? Like, and it's
And we'll see what other mechanics interactions he has. If he has anything that improves his own cooldowns on his other spells that is built in, you know, you might be able to still just.
and we don't even know what his R does yet, do we?
I honestly have no idea. I haven't read all of this.
I know the list that came out is like listed all of the mixture of his abilities,
and just not the R.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the R. So he has 9 abilities and then an R. And so for those of you that have played Dota, you know of the champion Invoker. And this is very, very similar to the champion Invoker. So Invoker, he levels up his QWE, and each one of those is a color orb. And so at level 3, when you have one level into each of them, you get to put, so each time you get 3 orbs around you at a time. And so you can press Q, 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 and then you have all of this color orb. And you can press W, 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 all of those. Or you can go WER, or you can go QQW, or QQE. And then when you press, I think it was, for him it was T, what you did was you invoked that spell and you put it into one of your, he had 2 spell slots. And you invoked it and you put it into one of your spell slots. And so he could only have 2 spells available at a time, but he had like I think at start he had like 21 or 23 spells, and they nerfed him down to 10.
Yeah, well, he's going to be like, if the numbers are even like middlingly good, he'll be pretty prevalent just because of the versatility. Especially if he's very like support viable.
In pro play, I'm expecting him to be pick ban all next year.
We'll see how they balance him out, but I mean, it sounds like he'll be strong. Briar was super strong on release, even though everyone said that she was bad. So
they just didn't know how to play her.
Yep.
She is hard. She is a bit hard to play. She is very weird and can be, if you just fucking W at the wrong time, like you're just gonna die.
But you don't even need to be outplayed anymore at that point, you know?
Yeah. But she's gonna be like, if early game, she's very strong early game. If we're gonna see, because my random prediction for the meta is going to be early skirmishing junglers, and then one of your 2 lane. This is how like the Dota meta was when I stopped playing. Your jungler was an early skirmisher who would pretty much was 100% ganking, but could also like had to be able to at least hold their own in a 1v1 against the enemy jungler. One of your lanes is going to be set for scaling, 100% set for scaling. Like they are going to be your, like, they're not going to be showing up for team fights before fucking 16 minutes, and they're going to be getting 2 items as fast as they can. And then you're going to have a mid laner that has versatility in forms of either burst damage or crowd control, and have those access to those abilities early and not need more than 1 item to really make an impact on a fight. And so I'm expecting scaling bot laners, roaming supports, juggernauts or tanks top, and
we gotta see the items.
Non-scaling control mages mid.
Got to see the items.
Yeah, the items
will dictate what's strong. Because the 2 or 3 that release overtuned, the champions that use those the most will be the first big piece of the meta for sure. And we'll see how crit versus on hit are the items and their scaling, and we'll see if that'll determine the AD pool. It's really hard to say right now because until we start seeing numbers and such, it's all just like we got the meta where we're at right now. But yeah,
love speculation.
I just want to start seeing some of these items, what they do.
Yeah, I want to see because they said that they're removing some.
They're removing all the mythics for one.
Just like flat removing, not even just like adjusting to.
They might. Some items might.
I thought that because I thought they said they were removing the mythic status on items, and then they were removing some items and adding in some new ones.
Yeah, but another thing they said though is they want all items to only give like 3 stats.
Yeah, which is
so there's just going to be like this will just be an overhaul. I mean, obviously we'll see return of old items, clearly, but this is going to be different. So we'll have to wait and see what we get. It's honestly, it's we just don't have enough information because right now fighters are really strong because of things like Gore Drinker and Stride Breaker and Sterix Gauge. Those are all really efficient, strong items. And that's one reason why that class is so prevalent this year. But if fighter items go bad, we'll just see tanks again,
Because tank fighter and tank items are bad.
I mean, that won't be the case. Support items are another, in my opinion, big indicator because like how gold efficient support items is the reason why gold or support is so OP. So that'll also determine what's good and why.
I think support items should be tied with exhaust or heal, and only support can take exhaust or heal. Like how like how if you don't have smite, you can't buy a jungler item.
Yeah, but some random champions and lanes like taking exhaust. I'm at this point, I don't want to remove any choices. I think they've done enough of simplification and cutting out over the past few years.
Yeah, I'm just saying I'm taught in solo queue. One of the reasons that ADC is so horrible is because you'll get people who just queue support but want to carry the game, so they take your CS even though their item gives them less gold for it. And they just take Ignite because they want to secure the kill. They don't use it for poke. They don't use it for helping win a trade to get a better lane state. They will flash Ignite just to steal a kill.
Mm-hmm.
And
bad players do a bunch of bad stuff, and they always do bad stuff. And amazingly, them making the game easier over the years has not made bad players better.
See, they've made the game easier, but they've also made the game harder for you to solo carry the game. They want solo carries to be out of the game. They want teamwork to be the core aspect of the game. But the people that are making these choices to make teamwork the core aspect of the game aren't playing fucking solo queue. And if they are,
they're getting fucking destroyed by enemy jungle, so they want to make sure it's not strong anymore.
It's like I remember back in 2018, I could hop on Kaisa, and if my team was playing like shit, I just build Hurricane, get to like scale up, sell my boots, buy that fucking 6 item, and now I just, as long as I fucking played well, I could 1v5 the enemy team. All I dodge skill shots, I could 1v5 the enemy team. Now it's like you just can't do that on any champion. You have to work with your team to secure these objectives. You have to work with your fucking jungler. You have to work with your, like, if a lane gets ahead and you're the jungler, you have to work with that laner.
Honestly, the most success I have playing jungle, my team plays really bad early, almost all the time, and I just forget they exist, and I absorb as much gold as possible. Yeah. If I hit 3 items at 25 minutes, I do just 1v9. Like, I play Graves, and I just do that. I play Gore Drinker Graves because I'm a slut, and I will just dive into 3 of you.
But if the enemy team is playing as a team, and
your jungle is basically being constantly invaded, I just FF at 15.
Yeah, then you have no jungle to farm, which is like if it's become so team oriented, which isn't a bad thing for the game overall, because
except they haven't done anything to teach laners how to play the team.
There's nothing
for whatever reason.
You just have to hit level 30 to play ranked, but there's no like if you start a new account and go through the tutorial, it doesn't.
I mean,
like
It's a weird.
it doesn't even
I don't know.
introduce you to junglers. You don't even get smite until level 10.
I think they changed that. That's at least different now. I think the biggest issue is like I don't know how you change people's mindset of approach to the game. Like this is a game that is hard. It has a lot of depth. Fundamentals and stuff are things you have to learn. You don't just get them, you know. And I don't know how you make this game approachable to casuals, because like how do you make chess approachable to casuals? You know, at the end of the day, this game is most like chess than anything, as we want to talk about the depth of it, right? And you have to study this game to be good at it. You can't just accident unless you are a prodigy, and those people do exist. But most of the people who are really good without thinking about the game or learning the game, it's just because they're mechanically pretty good. And at the end of the day, your mechanics get you to a point, but that doesn't win you games all the time. At the highest level, your brain will win you more games than your fingers will. But most people get to a point where like, well, my fingers don't win me the game anymore. I don't want to. And if they get to the point that their brains and fingers never work, they can't win games consistently because they don't understand what's going on. And they just blame everyone else because they don't understand what they're doing wrong in their own micro interactions. Until you study the game, until you watch your replays, until you see this stuff with the extra time. How do you make people with, room temperature IQ do that? Because that's the problem. This game is hard. You have to be looking at your mini map. Laners don't do that at low elo, especially. They don't even think about the space outside of their lane. I know this because I'm always watching the mini map. Because I'm a jungler. It's just what I do. I stare at the bottom right corner of my screen.
I've made my mini map huge.
And I see people literally never leave the straight lines that they play on. Ever, ever, ever. I have watched my support duo bot lane not leave the bot lane for 18 minutes. Like, anyone who understands the game just understands how egregious of an error that is. I have seen my Shen never ult for the first 15 minutes of a game. And like it's because they're not paying attention to the game. They only care about what's in front of them. And then they get a kill, they get their dopamine hit, and they're like, I'm a good player. I killed this guy in front. How am I losing every game? I killed this guy once. That means I'm good, right? Oh, I can't see.
Well, it's like me in top lane. So me in top lane, I'm pretty much relegated to being a set one trick, and I will kill my enemy laner 2 or 3 times, but I'm not setting up my waves properly. So while I am up 3 kills, I'm down 20 CS and 2 plates. So
I mean, I played a top lane game the other day. We got the kill. My jungler came and we got the kill in the lane, and I had a huge wave, and I should have just killed only the caddy and then reset, and I didn't, and I stayed too long and tried to kill a few more minions, and I lost my lane because of that.
Yeah,
I got the kill. I had a huge stacked wave, and I mismanaged and stayed instead of taking the reset, and I lost the lane because of that. With the kill, with all of the advantage in my hand. And I recognize as soon as I did it, afterwards, oh fuck. Like I see what's happening 20 seconds later, shit, I just lost my lane. And I at least have the mindset to see when I fuck up like that. And that's why I know I need
that's a good mindset.
I've got so much room. I'm so bad.
That's why I'm excited for our off-season solo queue coverage of where we can break down where we're making improvements,
and where we messed up,
and seeing those mistakes, having hindsight, is one of the steps to growth. Is seeing it and not doing it next time.
And most players can't even grasp that.
Which I think duo queuing should get us finally. Should lower the variability. I know a lot of people don't see duo queue as true rank. But I think with the state of the game, you need to be able to have teamwork happen, and until you're in an elo where people actually look at their fucking minimap a little bit, sure, you'll get the occasional one tricks that are in there that just all they do is win lane, like they crush lane, and then hopefully 1v5 the enemy team. If not, they lose because their macro is dog shit. But at least getting to that point where people have a basic understanding of macro.
If we can push to diamond, if we can actually get diamond, but like ultimately with how they've fucked up the MMR and the rank distribution, if you like, I don't even care if you hit E4. I've played against plenty of people in E4 at this point. They're bad. Like I played against an E4 player when I was silver 1 going to gold. Clearly the MMR is not good. If
no, dude, I
freaking E4 and equal to a gold 2 player effectively.
I did a norm where I played against one plat 2 player, where he was invading me, but my team wasn't following up, so I couldn't do anything about it. And then I played against another plat jungler where I invaded him and his team didn't do anything about it, but I had the better early game jungler and I fucking took his goddamn jungle. Like,
I mean, with gold, plat, and emerald literally being equal distribution, until you escape emerald, you're still low elo in my.
Yeah. A low elo is the general consensus that I've seen is sub diamond.
Yeah, that's honestly true.
Some people that are like it's sub masters.
That's an overreach. The old school cutoff was always D2. D2 was the beginning of high elo. That was the old school cutoff. That was before Grandmaster existed. So like, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's different now.
I mean, now from what I'm looking is that from like the coaching job that I've seen open, is that they want you to play the game and be at least diamond at all to even apply for the job. Like
diamond is at least even harder to reach now than it was before. It is incrementally higher D4. So until you hit that line, in my opinion, you haven't actually gotten out of the. Getting out of Emerald 4 honestly sounds like quite the journey in and of itself. So that's the first step of your climb. If you want to say that I'm actually good at this game, like I got out of Emerald, that's step 1. Getting to Diamond is step 2, and then cool. At that point, we're allowed to say it. Over the years, they have ruined the MMR systems of this game. There's been patches where it's been ruined like bad, where people were getting like 50 a win and like losing 6. Like they had messed up the algorithm a few times. So I can't really respect the ladder anymore. I had a friend who was like a hard stuck D4 new jungle main, hit masters on the meta that Hecarim and Udyr was giga broken. I know so many diamond junglers who were like just masters because Hecarim became giga broken, and it's just like I don't care, man. You're not a real masters player to me. And I'm a low elo dickhead. Sure, I have not hit these high elo points. Shit, I've beaten a player who was top 300 on the ladder. I've done it once. I can play to a level, and I at least have my eyes. My brain works okay. So I'm old school enough. You can't be a one trick and say that you're good at the game. You just know how to do this one thing well. It just is what it is. And you can't be only one role. You can't play only one role well and say that you're at that level. If you get to a level and you're dog shit, you're not the level.
Well, I mean,
fundamentals have to be there.
Once you're in Masters, Grandmasters, Challenger, you get filled a lot. Mm-hmm. You're gonna get filled. Like you're gonna be like if you're a jungle, like if you're a one trick, like.
And people will ban you when you're a one trick.
Oh yeah.
Because as soon as they know you're not in their lobby, they know they're only playing against a 23. They're just banning your champion because they know you're there.
You're cutting out like a lot.
Oh, sorry, let me lean forward more. But yeah, no, they just ban your champion if they know you're there. You're talking about 25 people in queue at high elo. Once they see that you're not on their team, you're not hovering that champion. Bye.
Yeah. Which I don't even like. I just want to hit diamond. Like I know I have the game sense to do it. I just need to get it. Like the difference is knowing how a game should be played and then actually doing it are two very different things.
Yeah.
And making the decision in the moment is difficult. Like I'm not gonna say it's like this game is hard, and making the right decision at the right moment is difficult.
You just gotta want to do it though. I think jungle is a great role to learn for that because it really teaches you decision making, and
Yeah,
it
I think
removes the
it's
micro
really
completely.
improved my. It's also like because I've played ADC for fucking 6 years. Um, it's really gotten me to because I've dabbled in mid and top when I get bored with ADC. But I've never
When a new
really.
champion comes out, you like is cool.
Hmm?
When a new champion comes out that you think is cool.
Yeah, like I played the shit out of Silas when he came out. Played the shit out of Set when he came out. Like I hit M7 on the champions and then boop, moved over. Um, I do wish Pantheon is good in the jungle again, because I was a Pantheon one trick for a while.
I love that champion.
I did play Set jungle for a while, like just like off meta stuff, just because I knew the champion so well. And
Panther jungle might be doable. It's a little
well, didn't they
slow
reduce
clear,
his
but
Q damage to monsters? And they like
I
actually like
think they
try to
might
nerf him
have.
out of the jungle.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't help, but the cooldown is low enough. You might be able to still give it a go. At least the ganks would be strong.
Gangs to be super strong. Um,
Pantheon's a really fun champ. Another really successful rework, in my opinion.
yeah, I'm excited for that. We are starting to run out of time though, so
It's a pretty good cast, though. We at least got to talk about. We're going to be talking about way more roster changes and some of these teams that are starting to come up now that we're having official off season started today, I believe. So we can actually start seeing what gets penned down. Talk about LEC, I know for sure, in the next episode.
yeah, we'll talk about LEC in the next episode, as well as maybe we'll have more information on what's going to be involved in the next season. Maybe we'll get some more item like the item leaks should be coming out. Maybe we'll get an image of the whole of Summoner's Rift, so we get the whole picture of it, because so far it's only shown red side.
Something like that. I think I can't remember.
I think that video only really showed red side. It showed it some like I'd have to like freeze it and try to like get a picture, because I did show like blue side, red buff.
Yeah, mostly on the top side of the map for sure, and only a few walls. So, but, we'll see how that comes. I'm sure it'll be kind of an off week with the holiday in America here. So by the time December rolls around, it'll probably get juicy again.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention I did my first color cast.
Yes, it went quite well, actually, I think.
Thank you. I do have another meet. I have a meet and greet on Thanksgiving morning, because they're a European org, about
Flexing.
Just a meet and greet with them, because they're going to be putting on some events. So I should be able to start casting for them, or if they do a desk segment, at least get on the desk.
Nice. We get to like desk segments.
I'm going to be following a lot of amateur now, just because I'm going to have to know what these teams are playing. So I will be following a lot of amateur, which will probably be my input on next season of the Pot of Ages.
At least we'll have somebody in-house that could talk about it to a level of expertise, because I'm not sure we talked about it much on stream yet or on the cast itself, but we'll be going over various leagues next year without following any one too specifically. So it should be a good time and allow us to have a full scope of what the world of League is looking like, which is pretty fun for us.
Yeah, and just from that one game I casted, there is some really good players and some people and teams that are playing the game properly in the amateur scene. So it's not like it's not going to be that. I mean, amateur to LCS is very small gap, because a lot of former LCS players are actually in the amateur scene still.
And now that there's only 40 jobs playing in the LCS, you'll see more.
Yeah. The amateur leagues are, because there's a lot of different leagues out there. There's a lot of people running these leagues, so there's going to be a lot of content, a lot of teams playing multiple tournaments at the same time, and hopefully a lot of these tournaments don't like overlap their events where a team gets an L just for missing the fucking game. Hopefully they work together, or have like, okay, this week's is this event, then this event is after that, and there's substantial prize pools for him. So
Well, make sure you follow old Doomy Funky on X to keep updated with all of his casting coming up, because he'll definitely be doing it. And I know he's still linking it out. And you can follow me at paradox_pope on the old X. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Twitch. This is the Pod of Ages, Season 3, Episode 6. I'm Paradox Pope. This lovely gentleman is Doom Funky, or just Doom Funk. And we'll catch you all next time.
see you guys.